Show in this in production, man. Solano Sports Network, let's go. We coming in live. Yeah, here we go. Me and my bro, it's the Poff Show.
Yo, what is good, everybody? You are checking out the second episode of Poff Pass. I'm your host, Zach Poff, here with my big bro, JT Blaze, also known as Jake Poff. What's good?
Looking forward to another great week of sports updates. So glad football has finally started. Baseball playoffs around the corner. I'm excited, little bro.
That's how it was going. I didn't want your whole life story.
Well,
anyways, we got a lot on tap here this afternoon. Up first, of course, we're going to start with America's favorite sport, the National Football League. Talk about the Week 2 picks. Also, too, talk some Major League Baseball, who we think is going to make it to the World Series, and who will be crowned in late October. Top 5 this week. Got a ton of great UFC fights lined up for the rest of 2013. So we're going to pick our top 5 fights remaining for this year's calendar. And we're going to end with the Poff Pass finale. He's a beast. Say what? And we'll get the old grumpy man in for his pet peeve of the week. So let's go over to the first segment, baby, and talk about the National Football League. And we picked 3 matches we're most looking forward to watching here. Let's all start Sunday Night Football, baby. The San Francisco 49ers going up north to take on the Seattle Seahawks in what should be the best game of the weekend. And the last time the Niners went there, it didn't fare so well for Colin Kaepernick and crew. How do you see this one going down Sunday night?
I definitely think this is going to be another battle, but I do think this is going to be definitely a different matchup than what we saw last year. Because let's remember, as we saw Week 1, Kaepernick is a whole different animal than he was when he went into Seattle last year. And if we compare Week 1 matchups, I actually think the Niners have a little bit of momentum and an advantage going into this game. But then again, you can't have much of an advantage when you play the 13th man in Seattle, so we'll see what happens.
And the reason why I'm excited about this matchup, you get to see 2 of the best young quarterbacks in the NFL, in Colin Kaepernick and Russell Magic Wilson. Both these 2 guys are phenomenal young quarterbacks who continue to grow as leaders, and that's the thing I love about Russell Wilson. This kid is a born leader. He's won everywhere he's played, and especially last year. He took a Seattle team that wasn't supposed to do much into the playoffs and almost won in Atlanta in the second round of the postseason. This should be a very entertaining game, and, I mean, you talk about Niners, you talk about Seahawks, it's one thing, baby. Defense.
Yeah, I mean, really, if you look at this matchup, I think all year, most of the favorites coming out of the NFC was either Seattle or the 49ers. So as a matchup this early in the year, the NFL got it right. They have gotten all the correct matchups early, and this is one of the biggest matchups I've been looking forward to all year, and it's great to see it already happen. Week 2, one of the biggest rivalries in the NFL between 2 of the best defenses in the NFL. It's going to be a battle.
What will be the biggest X factor in Sunday night's game?
You know what? I would have to go with Bolden. I think what Bolden did Week 1.
Is this fantasy implications? Because I know you just picked him up.
Well, not really, because Bolden's only on one of my teams and not 2. So Kaepernick is also going to be the big X factor. But I say Bolden specifically is the X factor for this reason alone. He's a physical receiver that can stand the physicality that Seattle's corners are going to bring and the safeties, and he's going to be able to get a lot of one-on-one matchups, even if the coverage is close. I think Kaepernick's going to trust him and be able to get him the ball, which may end up opening up the run game too.
And you look at San Francisco, Seattle. I think you touched on it right away. The 2 best teams, I believe, in the NFC, and they play in the same division. But you want to talk about 2 of the best teams in the same division? Let's talk about 2 brothers who are quarterbacks in the National Football League. Starts with the Mannings, man. Archie Manning got 2 great quarterbacks in the NFL, 3 Super Bowl rings combined. Peyton Manning versus Eli Manning, Sunday afternoon, and don't forget, football on your phone. Man, before we get to there, baby, this is the best commercial I've seen Eli or Peyton Manning do. And Peyton Manning is an absolute beast when it comes to commercials, but he's an even better quarterback. He's coming off a 7-touchdown performance and over 450 yards passing to start the season off against a team that beat him to end his playoff run last year.
Yeah, this is going to be an unbelievable matchup. The only problem is that his bigger brother, Peyton, has a better team and a better defense, so I think that's going to be an edge in this matchup. But I hope it's a shootout, and I hope it's a shootout between brothers, because we all know the best rivalries can usually happen when you're dealing with, your little brother. I was going to say significant other. Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Yeah,
that's very weird. You just made everybody feel extremely awkward.
That's why I'm here.
But anyways, looking at the game, I think the biggest factor for the New York Football Giants is number 22, David Wilson. He needs to not fumble the rock every time he touches it. The Giants need to get the run game established if they want to hang with the Denver Broncos. They are at home, so we'll see what happens. But the way Denver played, and you add Wes Welker with Demaryius Thomas, Eric Decker, and now you also add Julius Thomas, a former basketball star at Portland State University, just how Antonio Gates was at Kent State. I just think Denver has too many weapons against a banged-up Giants secondary and a banged-up Giants defense. But Eli Manning threw for over 400 yards. The Mannings threw for more yards than anybody else in the NFL in Week 1.
Yeah, I agree with you. There's a lot of just different X factors that the Broncos have that the Giants aren't going to be able to keep up with. One move that the Giants did make, though, is they went out and re-signed Brandon Jacobs. Yeah. So if he can come in and, teach Wilson a little bit of how to hold the rock and not fumble, it should be a good, fun, competitive game, and it should be a good battle between two brothers we both love in the NFL.
And we've been talking about quarterbacks here the whole time. Let's talk about two of the best. We've got one young gun in Robert Griffin III, who had a rough first half last Monday night against Philadelphia Eagles, but he came back strong. Later on in that game, had a good second half, and he's going against Aaron Rodgers and the Green Bay Packers. And the loser of this game falls to 0-2. And take a percentage of teams since the playoff system moved to the extra two wildcard spots. Take a guess since 1990 how many teams have made the playoffs starting 0-2.
A percentage, I doubt it's, I'd say 20, 15%.
12%.
Yeah.
So this is a huge game for both of these teams. You do not want to start an NFL season 0-2, and that is what Washington Green Bay, the loser of this one, faces. What's the biggest factor in this one?
I honestly really think the X factor in this game is going to be Eddie Lacy. Because if we look what happened to Washington last week, I know it was McCoy who ran all over them, but if I look correct, Washington gave up 2 touchdowns and 263 yards, just rushing yards, and 2 rushing touchdowns. So that's obviously can't happen again. Now, I don't think Eddie Lacy is going to put up those numbers, but this Washington running defense has a weakness, and I think Green Bay is going to take advantage of that. And with Eddie Lacy being able to run the ball effectively, we all know what Rodgers is going to do once the play action starts working. I think Green Bay is going to end up winning this one. I just think Washington did not impress me in Week 1. RG3 still hasn't had a preseason, so this is his only actual game experience he had, which was Week 1, which they started really shaky as a team.
At the end of the day, he played no preseason. You saw, I don't know if it was because Philadelphia had a nice lead and then they played a little prevent defense. RG3 had a very good second half and got into a nice rhythm. So that just showed you how important preseason football is. Well, RG3 had no preseason. And
exactly. That's my point, is that he's only had that much experience, didn't have the preseason.
Is he got that experience in Game 1, so it shouldn't be a factor heading into Week 2.
My point is I still don't think it's enough experience, especially he was at home. Now he's going on the road, hasn't really dealt with that much. It is still getting used to how the offense works. Guys and his receivers are still getting used to chemistry with him, too. These things take time. It doesn't just magically happen in a half, and going into Green Bay is not going to be an easy task. I just think Washington does not have enough preparation for this game. And the Green Bay Packers look pretty effective against San Francisco also.
And also, too, the biggest factor, I think, is RG3. A lot of people are saying, no, he needs to be careful. No, he doesn't. That's why Robert Griffin III was so good last year.
Yeah.
You need to let him out, get him outside the pocket, let him run a little more. That is how you open up the offense for the Washington Redskins, and more importantly, the running game of Alfred Morris, because he really was a no-show in the first half, had a little better second half.
Yeah.
But I think the X factor here, like you touched on, partner, Eddie Lacy and Alfred Morris, whoever has a bigger game out of those two, I think that's going to be the biggest factor here on Sunday.
And if you want to touch real quick, Green Bay's run defense actually looked really well against the 49ers, which is one of the best rush teams in the NFL right now. I believe they held Frank Gore to about 50, 60 yards. No one had over 100 yards rushing in that game.
Well, when Kaepernick's done for 412 yards, you don't really need rushing.
But they also held Kaepernick to only 20 yards rushing. So one thing Green Bay can do is stop the run, and if that's going to be the difference in the game, I'm taking Green Bay at home.
Yeah, I really believe Jim Harbaugh wanted to prove that you can win on the arm with Colin Kaepernick compared to running the rock, what they did to them in the playoffs when he ran for not just a playoff record, but an NFL record for 183 rushing yards in a game. Then he comes back for 412 yards. So let's move on to the picks, baby. It is that time. Finally time to have some fun. Week 2 picks. Let's start Sunday morning football, 10 a.m. sharp. The St. Louis Rams travel to Atlanta to take on the Falcons. JT, who you got?
One, I think Steven Jackson's going to have a huge game showing his old team that they should have kept him and signed him, so I look to him to have a big game. The one question, though, is Atlanta's receivers are looking a little banged up. I know Julio Jones is questionable in this game and Roddy White, so if those guys aren't 100% or can't be effective, I think St. Louis has a chance, but at the end of the day, I like Atlanta at home. They were a great team at home last year. You still have Matt Ryan. He'll be able to find guys and get guys the ball, and I think Steven Jackson's going to have a big game.
Atlanta. You don't need to go on about your childhood.
I like to back it up.
Tony Gonzalez going to have a couple touchdowns. Harry Douglas will move the sticks. Give me Atlanta. All right, moving on. Carolina at Buffalo. I like the Bills in this one. I think E.J. Manuel played pretty well against the New England Patriots, had them in position to beat Tom Brady and New England when they had most of their weapons, minus Rob Gronkowski, of course. I like Buffalo at home.
I agree. I think Buffalo's going to pull this game out, too. They looked really good against New England last week. The only reason New England's going to lose this game is if, they, like last year, their run deep fails on them. Because if Cam Newton can run the ball effectively, and they also get those other running back core, Tolbert, also D'Angelo Williams, if they can run the ball effectively, I think Carolina will pull it out, but they won't. Buffalo.
Chicago at home against Minnesota Vikings. I like the Bears at home. They look pretty good. They beat a very good Cincinnati Bengals squad last week. I like Chicago at home.
Minnesota run D looked horrible against Reggie Bush last week. Matt Forte is just like Bush, a guy who can run the ball and get receptions.
Yeah.
Give me Chicago.
Green Bay at home against the Washington Redskins, a game we talked about as one of our top 3 matchups to pay attention to this week. I like Washington a lot. I'm a big RG3 fan, but you got to go with the discount double check, man.
Yeah.
I like Aaron Rodgers at home to get the Packers' first win. I see the Redskins starting 0-2 and things not looking good.
Yeah.
Just like with our government in D.C., not going to be looking good for football either.
Rodgers! Give me Green Bay all day. Yeah.
All right, baby. Miami at Indy. I like the road team in this one. I'm going with the upset here. I'm taking the Miami Dolphins. Very impressed with their defense last week. We saw what Deion Jordan does to that defense on the other side. Allows Cameron Wake some more, obviously, one-on-one to get pressure on the quarterback. I like Miami on the road in that one. I think a running game and good defense will be the factor in that road win.
I also like Miami in this one. I think it's going to be a close battle. When you have Andrew Luck on your team, you always have a chance to win a game, especially when you're playing at home.
He didn't look that good against the Raiders.
He didn't look that good against the Raiders, and another big injury.
Not Luck, I mean the Colts.
Well, yeah,
Luck
but
looked good.
Yeah, Luck didn't. But still, the Raiders played well against Indy and almost beat them at home last week. And a huge injury to Indy, Vic Ballard out for the year. So that's going to also hurt their run game.
So,
I'm taking Miami.
Anybody that picked up Ahmad Bradshaw, you are pretty happy right now,
well,
fantasy-wise?
I would also look to pick up Brown because Bradshaw is known to go down as the year goes on. So we'll see what happens.
That's Donald Brown out of UConn.
Yeah.
All right, baby. Kansas City at home against the Dallas Cowboys. I like the Chiefs. This is my sleeper team in the AFC before the season started. I'm going to keep riding them. They look good against a Jacksonville Jaguars squad, basically the Houston Astros of the NFL.
Yeah.
They look very good against the Jaguars. A contest coming up against Dallas, a very good offense. I like Kansas City, though, at home.
Is that game in Dallas? It's in Dallas, correct?
Kansas City.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Kansas City then. This was a game I'm pretty much taking the home team, but I do think this is going to be a close game, and the one thing that did impress me last week was Dallas's defense did look pretty effective. I like what Kiffin's done and the transition they've made.
What, 6 turnovers?
6 turnovers, so Dallas is finding a way to turn the ball over, but I think Jamal Charles is going to be the big difference in this game, and Alex Smith not turning the ball over. Give me the Chiefs.
Let's quickly run through the rest of these. You got Philly at home against your San Diego Superchargers, or the Super Chokers, as I like to call them.
Yeah.
Give me Philly at home. I just think they're too fast for the San Diego Chargers this week.
Yeah, Chargers defense didn't look that good in the second half. Now they're going into Philly. Chargers aren't that good a road team.
What was the score in the third quarter on Monday night?
It was a lot to a little, and then a lot to a little the other way around. So, yeah, taking
baby.
Philly. Philly's offense looked impressive,
The
too.
reigning Super Bowl champs, the Baltimore Ravens at home, did not look good week 1. Got torched by Peyton Manning, allowed 7 touchdowns, the most points Baltimore has ever allowed in franchise history. And the first game without Ray Lewis, they give up a franchise record, 49 points. I don't see Cleveland getting close to 49 points.
Yeah, I don't
like
either.
Baltimore at home easy.
I think this is going to be a redemption game. They're back at home. Baltimore usually plays really well at home. Give me Baltimore.
And you got Houston at home against Tennessee. Tennessee, a very underrated team. They showed their great defense last week. Greg Williams, a great addition to the defensive coaching staff last week. He just brings that physicality and toughness. He might say things the wrong way, but he does get the best out of his defensive units, as we've seen. But I like Houston at home.
I like Houston too, but after what Tennessee did to Pittsburgh, going into Pittsburgh last week, I will not be surprised if Tennessee finds a way to upset Houston. Houston needs to start this game faster. They may find themselves behind and losing to Tennessee this week, but give me Houston.
Tampa Bay against New Orleans in Tampa Bay. Give me Tampa Bay. We got to pick one different.
Yeah, I really was going back and forth this game, but at the end of the day, Drew Brees, he looked real impressive against Atlanta last week. Tampa Bay their defense looked a lot better. They're not giving up the run, so if Doug Martin can't run the ball effectively, New Orleans win this game, and I think they will.
Let's see, do you know who their defense coordinator is now?
I believe, I forgot. I remember him. Okay, no Jeopardy time. Well, I thought we were running short on the picks, and now we have time to do the Jeopardy anthem, really?
Who is Rob Ryan?
Bam, I knew it. Okay. Well, I didn't, but
we've got 5 games left. Detroit travels to Arizona. I like Detroit on the road.
I like Detroit on the road, too. They looked really good last week. Look for Reggie Bush to have another big game.
Oakland at home against Jacksonville. Give me the Raiders.
Raiders, okay. No analysis on this one. It's pretty straightforward.
Manning versus Manning. We broke it down earlier. I like Denver on the road, obviously. Denver looks so good. Thursday Night Football. Giants turn the rock over way too much. I like the older brother in this contest.
The Giants have question marks. Denver doesn't. Give me Denver.
Bam. All right, Sunday Night Football, another game we broke down here for you on Poff, Pass. Man, I like the road team in this one. I think the Niners are a better team. Just when you go all 53 guys on the roster, I think the Niners have a lot more depth than Seattle. Seattle still has some guys banged up. Percy Harvin not there. Obviously Crabtree without for the Niners, but we saw how good Anquan Bolden was last week. Who cares about Crabtree when you got Bolden, baby? Give me the Niners.
Yeah, I also like the Niners in this one. Bolden's the X factor, and I think the Niners have something to prove after what happened to them last year. Everyone's been kind of doubting them since that game. Look for them to come out firing. I think it's going to be close. Give me the Niners.
My X factor in that game might surprise you, Kendall Hunter. I think he's going to have a couple of big plays coming in, subbing for Gore. I like Kendall Hunter making a couple of big plays. Yeah. All right, finale, baby. Monday Night Football. Cincinnati at home against the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'm not picking the Steelers. They looked horrible last week. They could not do anything correct. Cincinnati played Chicago tough on the road. The Bears are a very underrated team. I like the Bengals at home.
The Pittsburgh was such a disappointment last week. I mean, it was horrible what Tennessee was able to do to them. And don't forget, the Bengals have one of the best defenses in the league right now. Really, they don't have a weakness on defense. I'm looking for the Bengals to put a beat down on Pittsburgh. And I also think they're going to run the ball effectively also. And don't forget A.J. Green. He's pretty good, too.
Oh, he had 166 yards.
Yeah, 2 TDs.
Anybody got A.J. on their fantasy squad? Doing a lot of fist pumping last week.
Yeah.
All right, baby. NFL segment's over. We're going to take a quick break here in the Solano College Sports Network studio. We've got a special commercial coming up, and when we come back, we're going to keep predicting, baby. MLB predictions, World Series predictions, coming up here on the Poff Pass.
Hey everybody, just getting ready for the Tee It Up for Athletes big fundraiser golf tournament for Solano Community College Athletics. I'm Greg Poff here in the Solano Community College studio, taking the opportunity to share with you a great opportunity to go out, have some fun on the fairway, and also donate to a worthy cause, Solano Community College Athletics. So at Hidden Brook Golf Tournament, that's out towards Vallejo on the 80 on Friday, September 27th. Tee time at 11 o'clock. For just $150, you'll be able to play a full 18, get a cart, lots of refreshments, opportunities to win lots of prizes, and they'll feed you at the end, all for $150. And here's the best thing about the deal. You don't even need to be a great golfer. They play best ball, and so as long as you have someone in your foursome that can hit a decent shot once in a while, you'll be good to go. So remember, on Friday, September 27th, let's tee it up for athletics. Now back to the show.
So you know I gotta brag, cause we got a lot of swag. Tommy Stosh in the lab, bringing you sports on who's hot and bad. We got Pops, pet peeves, what makes my Pops mad? If we say he's a beast, then
Are we on? Oh, we are. Oh, wow. We had to take a little Poff Pass break, but we are back, baby. What a grab by Ben Revere there for the Philadelphia Phillies. Unfortunately for Revere and the Phillies, they're not going to be playing in the postseason. And that brings us in, JT Blaze. Time to put on your prediction hat. Let's start with the American League East. We don't even really need to talk about it, right?
I just want to say I was right. I mean, I called it, was it 3 weeks ago when we did the show? Was it you who had Tampa Bay and me who had Boston? I think we know who got that one right. Boston not only, here's one little stat for you. Boston was top 5 in all hitting categories. Now they're top 2. This team is, they're monsters. They're monsters in a monster.
You know what? I'm 25. I was going to get something wrong eventually. That's pretty good for me. It took me 25 years to get a prediction wrong. There's no such thing as a...
Do we have to bring up the Zach Poff curse resume? The one thing you've gotten wrong, really?
Let's just say that ZPC works, that my buddy ordered me a shirt for my birthday, because that thing does happen. The ZPC curse works. Let's move on to the AL Central. We both have the Boston Red Sox. They've basically almost clinched the American League East.
Wait, AL Central?
Yeah, American League Central. Who you got?
I thought Boston was in the East.
That's what I said. We both have Boston. Let's keep this together here.
Okay.
And you know, if you check out the intro song, this kid forgets the C because it's right here on our shirt. SCSN, and he still goes SSN.
Okay. AL Central, Detroit.
That'd be like me calling you JT Lays.
Okay, whatever, Zeke. Yeah.
Detroit Tigers,
Detroit.
baby. They've got the best player in all of baseball, Miguel Cabrera. This guy's an absolute stud, and in my opinion, I would say he is a better hitter than Albert Pujols was, and I believe Miguel Cabrera is the second best hitter I've seen in my lifetime outside this hurts to say as a Dodger fan, but outside of Barry Bonds is the best hitter I've ever
Yeah.
seen. Ken Griffey Jr. is right there too, but I think Miguel Cabrera is the second best hitter I've ever witnessed with my own eyes.
The only thing I can give Pujols now is he's done it consistently longer, but the one difference is he never had a crown on his head.
And
he never
also,
pulled
too,
the triple crown out.
we're not the same age as our executive producer Gregory Brian Poff, because he was able to watch Babe Ruth back in the early 20s and the 30s, so he was able to watch Murderous Row back in the late 1920s. So we didn't have that privilege to watch guys like Ted Williams and those. So we got guys like Miguel Cabrera.
But what's funny is his numbers are being compared to the black and white photos, proving just how dominant this guy's been. I agree.
I don't know if he's going to catch Chris Davis in the home run category, but he has a chance to become the first player ever in Major League Baseball history to win back-to-back.
Just to say that doesn't even seem like a human person could even accomplish that. Back-to-back Triple Crown.
Okay,
it's such a legendary award.
I'm sorry. We'll end the bromance. At least, I don't have significant other
you
with
gotta
my
give
brother. But let's move on from the bromance with Miguel Cabrera. Let's go to the AL West. Our producer, our director, basically the dude running everything behind there with his boy Brian Stosh. Big A's fan. We're going with your A's, man. They've got a nice win against Yu Darvish once again. Yu Darvish now 1-6 career against the Oakland Athletics. You want to talk about a pitcher with the nastiest stuff? His name is Yu Darvish, but not against the Oakland A's. A's now have a 5.5 game cushion in the American League West. I think the A's got this.
Not to brag, but I also picked the A's 3 weeks ago.
So did I.
But it was a lot more of a questionable pick back then. Now the A's have been dominating. Our boy Stosh called it. But one thing I want to point out, too, Rangers have lost 5 in a row now with this Yu Darvish going down today. So they may not even make the playoffs at this rate, while the A's have been reeling.
To our wild card. Who you got for your 2 wild card spots?
This was a tough decision for me. At the end of the day, though, I just think the other teams that Texas is going against, they still have enough pitching and a deep enough lineup to get some wins and bounce back. I said there's a chance they may not make it.
Why would you say that if you have that written down on your sheet?
What? I have Texas written down on my wild card.
So why would you say they
because
might not
Texas
make it
has a chance, because they still have a chance. When it comes to the wild card prediction and how close Cleveland is and Kansas City coming up, I won't be that surprised if another team
Orioles.
catches them. Yeah, so that's why. There's 4 teams. The other team, Tampa Bay. I still think Tampa Bay is going to hold up too. They've won their last 2 games. They have a pretty good pitching staff. Give me Tampa Bay and Texas.
I don't know what I was drinking this morning, but I'm getting a little crazy here, and I'm going with the New York Yankees. I really think they're playing really good baseball. Alfonso Soriano's been one of the best players. Well, neither is the Boston Red Sox, outside of Clay Buchholz, who missed over just about 2 months.
I disagree. The Boston has Lester's 13-8, Peavy's 11-5, Lackey's 9-12, but these guys can get it done, and they have playoff experience, really. Comparing that to the Yankees staff? No way. Not even comparable. And you want to get to the bullpen? Your boy Mariano hasn't been really pulling anything off in the second half either.
Last time I checked, Mariano Rivera was second in the American League in saves.
Yeah, but he was first before the All-Star break and went reeling.
Jim Johnson had more saves at the All-Star break.
So he has not been the same closer since the All-Star break. That's my point. In fact, he has not even looked anywhere near the same closer he was at the beginning of the year to now. I just don't think the Yankees have the pitching when you compare them to other teams. But who knows? Like I said, I'm not even that faithful in Texas, so we'll see.
Give me the Yankees, and I like this is the only reason I'm picking
the
Cleveland Indians.
I knew it.
The only reason I'm picking
Why stop now?
The only reason I'm picking the Cleveland Indians, they only have 3 more games against a team above 500, and that's the Kansas City Royals. Terry Francona, arguably the American League Manager of the Year this year, has done a phenomenal job. Yeah. And I would love to see the Cleveland Indians and the Boston Red Sox in the postseason just to see Tito Francona against his old squad who did him dirty. I would love to see that matchup. Give me the Yankees. Give me the Indians. I'm going out on a limb here. And it doesn't stop in the National League. So let's move on over. National League East, Atlanta Braves a lock, right?
Lock. Pretty much all the teams in the division are locks.
Except the Central.
Yeah. The Central's the one.
Pittsburgh Reds.
Yeah.
Who you got?
This was tough. And I definitely think all 3 of these teams are going to make the playoffs. But at the end of the day, give me St. Louis. I just like their pitching staff. And their lineup has some talented guys. Beltran's been getting it done all year. Carpenter.
Matt Carpenter is probably the most underrated baseball player this year. And Alan Craig went down with that serious ankle injury. But Adams has done a phenomenal job coming in his place. A big-time, big boy power hitter. Hits those country hard balls at least 400 feet.
And you still have the best catcher in the game also. Don't forget about Molina either. So they're just a all-around balanced team, and I think that's going to get them enough wins at the end of the day.
NL West, I like the Arizona Diamondbacks coming back and winning that division.
Really?
No, Dodgers.
Oh, I thought you meant them. They're not going to make the wild card. There's no way. They're done. Yeah. I'm going Pittsburgh, Cincinnati for the wild cards.
Pirates are going to choke. They're not going to make it.
I think if they would have choked, they already would have done it by now,
The
though.
Washington Nationals have the best record in baseball since August 20th.
Too bad they had the worst record in baseball 3 months before that.
They're only 4.5 back of the wild card
You're
spot.
just holding because they were your team at the beginning of the year. Now there's that heartbeat.
They're
No,
back,
they got a
baby.
chance.
They're back, baby. Their
No.
pitching's nasty. Their
No.
hitting is doing phenomenal right now. I like the Reds and the Nationals getting into the playoffs, and I like the Nationals beating them in that one wild card game.
Wow, see, just taking the national bandwagon. Why not? But
Got to stick with it.
Yeah.
Everything's crashing down in Washington, so maybe the Nationals can get things back afloat. So real quick, we'll just move on to our World Series prediction. We won't do the whole playoff thing. 25-year anniversary, 1988. Stosh is going to hate me after this one, but I can just picture it in my head. You've got Rick Monday on the call. Kirk Gibson steps up into the plate, and it is gone.
gone.
Off Dennis Eckersley, who I believe won the American League Cy Young that year. And what a great series.
I'll never
5
forget.
games.
I was, what, 6 months old? 2 years
It's
old?
1988. What year
Oh,
were you born?
I was 2 years old at the time, and I'll never forget it. It was like yesterday. My blinky in one hand, Baba in the other. Go Dodgers!
Your
Yeah.
what? Your what?
My Baba, my bottle. Never mind. Go Dodgers. They're due, man. They are due.
I like it, man. Dodgers
Due
over
since
A's.
I was 2.
And
Yeah.
the thing with the Dodgers, they like to do this every 25 years. 1988, they won the World Series. 1963, they beat the New York Yankees also. So every 25 years, the Dodgers win the World Series. It's going to happen again this year. Don Mattingly, you got to love his performance as the manager for the Dodgers. I think he will win the National League Manager of the Year. Also, a guy that was supposed to get fired when June started.
And Dodgers, if you do win it, please don't wait another 25 years after. If you do somehow win the World Series, let's try, speed up the
Hey,
consistency.
We don't want Jake drinking from his baba
Yeah.
and crying on his little blanket.
Thank
if you
you.
guys take this
So
long.
please help me. Don't make me default to my Baba.
So real quick, we're going to take a quick glance at some of the big-time series left in the season this year. Texas has a 4-game series at Tampa Bay, the 2 leaders in the
Ooh,
wild card.
that's gonna
and
be
they have
fun.
another 3 games at Kansas City. Tampa Bay, as I mentioned, they play against Texas, and then they also have 3 more against the Yankees in New York and 4 more
Wow.
against the Baltimore Orioles. The Orioles play Boston 6 more times, and they play Tampa Bay 4 times. So that's 10 games against teams they're fighting for that race. Obviously, Boston has the AL East on lock. Cleveland, as I mentioned, only 1 series against a team of about 500. Real quick, we'll move over to the National League Big Series. Pittsburgh has 6 against Cincinnati, a home and a road. And Washington has Atlanta 3 more times. The Braves will be resting guys, so it's kind of not a big series as most would think. 3 at St. Louis, 3 at Arizona. So we'll see. We'll see who is right on the predictions. You were right with Boston 2 weeks ago, so you're probably going to be wrong this time around, baby.
I just want to point out, listening to all those matchups, how can you argue against the wild card? This is making regular season baseball that much more entertaining. All those matchups pretty much are dictating who's going to make the wild card. And the wild card is up in the air. The divisions aren't. So to have the wild card and these teams still have a chance to make the playoffs, I love it. Give me more wild cards. I'll take it all day.
He's just getting you ready, baby, for Poff's Pet Peeves at the end of the show, so make sure and stay tuned for that. We are going to take another commercial break, and when we do come back, baby, Ultimate Fighting Championship, top 5 fights left here, calendar year 2013. There's some big-time fights lined up. Good job, Dana White and Joe Silva. We'll be right back. Send it over to another SCSN commercial.
Brian Nelson here with the Solano Sports Update. Well, it was an unlucky Friday the 13th for our women's soccer team here at Solano, as they lost to the visiting Bakersfield Renegade by a score of 2-0. This brings their overall record to 0 wins, 3 losses, and 1 draw. But on a happier note, the volleyball team here at Solano won 2 of their matches at the DVC Volleyball Classic. This brings their record to a total of 4 wins and 2 losses. Now the next game for our volleyball team here at Solano is this Wednesday at 4:30 at the Solano Gymnasium here on the main campus. But don't worry, if you can't support the team here, you can always look to the Solano College Sports Network to get all of the access you need. Well, that's it for me here. Let's take you back to the Poff Pass Show.
And now it is time for some UFC talk, baby. There are some great fights lined up for the rest of 2013, in which I think has been the best overall year in UFC history, thanks in large part to the new deal that they landed with Fox back last year. Now let's get to the top 5, baby. There was a lot of good fights that I left off my list, and I felt really bad about that. So let's go to number 5, baby. John Bones Jones puts his light heavyweight belt on the line against the Swede, Alexander Gustafsson, who is actually an inch taller than John Jones and has a lot of people thinking he has a chance to pull the upset here. I don't see that happening, but looking at John Jones real quick, 9-fight winning streak, the longest ever in UFC light heavyweight history, tied with Tito Ortiz for 5 title defenses in the 205-pound division, number 5 fight on my watch list. So let's move on over down to number 4. 2 former Pride stars, Dan Henderson and Vitor Belfort. As you get a look right there, is Vitor with the vicious wheel kick to the head of Luke Rockhold, the former Strikeforce middleweight champion, taking on Dan Henderson. These two have met before back in 2006 at Pride 32. Dan Henderson won via unanimous decision. Both these guys have fought the who's who, and I love when Dan Henderson fights against a guy that is not afraid to stand in front of him and take punch after punch, and this is what's going to happen. I see Henderson Shogun 2. This time it'll be Vitor Belfort in the place of Shogun Hua going toe-to-toe with Dan Hendo Henderson. Moving on to number 3, a heavyweight clash. Third time these two guys are fighting. Junior Dos Santos tries to get his belt back against Cain Velasquez. Cain Velasquez, one of the best heavyweight fighters in the world. You want to talk about endurance and conditioning? Cain Velasquez, exactly that. I believe Cain Velasquez is going to win this fight and win for the second straight time over Junior Dos Santos. Both guys come in with identical 10-1 UFC records. Dos Santos, 12 career knockouts. Cain Velasquez, 10 career knockouts. A very exciting fight matched up with 2 of the best heavyweights in the world. I like Cain. Moving on. Let's go to number 2, baby. And I don't know how this is number 2 on my list, but it is somehow. Anderson Silva, Chris Weidman 2. Chris Weidman shocked the world when he knocked out Anderson Silva in his last contest, ending Anderson Silva's 17-fight mixed martial arts winning streak and his perfect 16-0 record inside the UFC octagon. And he knocked out Silva in the second round. But a lot of people think Anderson Silva kind of let that one slip by his side, being a little too cocky, and he finally got caught by Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman, a perfect 10-0 and 6-0 inside the UFC octagon, 4 career knockouts, and he's knocked out his last 2 opponents, Anderson Silva and Mark Munoz, 2 very good 185-pound middleweights there. Let's go to number 1, baby. On my list, George St. Pierre, as he likes to say, control the wrist, as George St. Pierre did all season long in The Ultimate Fighter, taking on my favorite fighter, Johnny Big Rig. Can I get a Big Rig, Jake? Big Rig Hendricks.
And that's our favorite fighter, just to throw that out there. Boom.
You know, significant fighter.
Yeah, not other.
Johnny Hendricks, I think he has a very good chance to beat GSP and end his UFC active streak of 11 fights, and that is tops among active fighters in the UFC. Obviously, since Silva went down, ending the 16-fight winning streak, tied with Matt Hughes for the most wins in UFC history with 18. I'm not sure a lot of people realize George St. Pierre is tied and has a chance to be number 1 on the list if he can get by Johnny Hendricks. Johnny Hendricks, 15-1 MMA record, 10-1 inside the octagon. Real quick trivia: who is his one loss to?
GSP or
Johnny Hendricks.
I have no idea.
Rick Story. Back when Rick Story
Wow.
was coming on strong, he beat Johnny Hendricks. Things have really changed for those 2 fighters. Johnny Hendricks next in line for the title shot at welterweight. 8 career knockouts, has a chance to make it 9 against GSP, and tries to end his 11-fight winning streak. And JT, I know you have 4 of the same 5.
Yeah.
Tell the audience which is the one that is different on your top 5.
Only different one I saw was the girl fight. After watching Ultimate Fighter this year, I cannot wait for Misha Tate to square up against my wife, my love, Ronda Rousey. I could marry either of them, honestly, but this is going to be an outstanding
you would marry
fight.
either one of them, but they would never waste their time with you.
Yeah, whatever. So a man can dream, Candy. Either way, I'm dreaming of this fight going down in a couple months, maybe even longer. I'm not sure, but I know I'm looking forward to it. Girl fights are always the best type of fights, and this is going to be an awesome fight.
And obviously, I mean, you look at that. That's a co-main event for Anderson Silva and Chris Weidman.
That's going to be card of the year, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know. Watch out for UFC 167 in November. You've got GSP and Johnny Hendricks. Rory McDonald taking on
Wow.
Robbie Lawler. You got also, too, you got Gilbert Melendez versus Diego Sanchez. Daniel Cormier versus Roy Nelson. The
Wow.
list keeps going on and on. A lot of stacked fights coming up here in 2013 for the UFC. Hey, Dana White, I do a pretty good job of promoting you guys for the UFC. I would like a job in the Ultimate Fighting Championship, so go ahead and send me a tweet about that at ZPoff13. It's my Twitter handle. Chop, chop, Dana.
Watch out, Rogan. I'm coming for you, man. I could use a job, too. Let's do this.
All right, baby. We're going to wrap up the show when we come back. And the last segment, of course, he's a beast. Say what? Good job. Good effort. and we'll bring in Big Kahuna to wrap it up with his pet peeve of the week. See what's been bugging the old grumpy man here behind the set. So we'll be right back to wrap up the show. For that, we'll send it to another SCSN commercial.
Well, hi, everybody. Greg Poff here in the Solano College Sports Network Studio B to talk about a great opportunity for any of you that are aspiring sports broadcasters, or perhaps you just like to work behind the scenes when it comes to sports broadcast productions. Here at Solano Community College, we are one of the few colleges in the nation that have an actual sports broadcasting class, Communication Studies 75. You can take that class any semester here at Solano, and we'd sure like to see you here in the spring semester every Wednesday afternoon here in the Solano Community College TV studio. We've got a job for you. Could be behind the mic, could be running the CGs, running the switcher board, or even behind a camera. Lots of opportunities to get involved and learn what it takes to have a career in sports broadcasting. Also look for our telecasts on the Fairfield Cable Access channel and also on our Solano College YouTube channel. This fall semester we'll be covering women's soccer, women's volleyball. We'll also throw in a few Vacaville High School football games, and at the end of the semester we'll start bringing you broadcasts of both Solano men's and women's basketball. So if you're interested in sports broadcasting, come over to Solano Community College. Check us out in the TV studio. Again, Communication Studies 75, sports broadcasting. Now, back to the show.
Start this thing off right now, and I've said his name all day long, and when I talked to him this week, he said he's ready to send Bears into hibernation. He's the man on my 88 club. He's Jermichael Finley. Last 4 starts, 24 grabs, 4 touchdowns. Jermichael Finley, he's a beast.
Oh, man.
Let's start.
To see NFL Network right there. Michael Irvin getting all juice for his beast. Of course, let's move on, baby. Chris Davis. He's my beast, and this is why. He jacked his 50th home run yesterday, and homeboy is only the 3rd guy in MLB history joining Albert Bell, thanks to steroids, and Babe Ruth, thanks to black people not playing baseball, as he's really the first guy to really hit 50 homers and 40 doubles, because the other 2 guys basically had little asterisks by theirs. Chris Crush Davis, 50 bombs, 40 doubles, 3rd guy in MLB history to ever do that. Chris Davis, you are a beast. JT.
Not bad. My beast likes to put football on your phone, and this is how he does it. Mr. Peyton Manning is a monster. He breaks his neck 2 years. It doesn't matter. He comes back 27 of 42, 64% completion rate, 462 yards, 7 touchdowns, no picks. That's beast-like in my opinion. Oh, and guess who else decided to be a beast? Wes Welker. You know how usually you need chemistry to work with your receivers? Not when you're a beast like Peyton Manning, you don't. Wes Welker, first game, 9 receptions, 67 yards, 2 touchdowns, breaking an NFL record. He even got a marijuana strain named after him after he was beasting in Colorado. Mile high, baby. Peyton Manning, you a beast.
Literally mile high.
Woo!
And that strand looks pretty good, too.
It does. I'm going to be trying.
You know, Peyton Manning, Denver, whenever you get a chance, send us some Peyton Manning finest here at the Poff Pass show. I mean, the name makes sense. Peyton Manning, congrats on buying 18 Papa John's. Very smart move.
Smoke the Peyton Manning to look like
and
Eli.
And that's a perfect segue, baby. That leads us in. We'll send it over to Family Guy for the Say What?
So, did you break up with Lauren?
No, I didn't. As a matter of fact, she's coming over for dinner tonight.
Say what?
JT.
Say what? My say what goes out to Mr. Anthony Dixon in San Francisco. The new running back decided to have a little tweet to get, pumped up for this. His 3rd year, getting pumped up for the Seattle game. Quote unquote, here's the tweet. Extra weight on the racks, less sleep, preparing for the quote-unquote She-Hawks. That's how you pump up a rivalry. Say what?
Say what?
Calling your ex-rival a girl? You're going to get in a little bit of trouble for that one, Dixon. We'll see if you back it up on Sunday. Say what?
Say what?
Former college teammates at Mississippi State tweeted him back and said, okay, we'll be waiting for you 40 whiners.
Nice.
Come on,
Very
guys.
nice.
Come on, guys. My say what for the week goes out to Oklahoma State. I don't know what they're putting in the still water, but reportedly, Oklahoma State paid players dating all the way back to 2001 when LSU's current head coach, Les Miles, was the head coach of the Oklahoma State Cowboys. And reportedly, he was getting them some cowgirls to come in and escort them when they're on their recruiting trips. I mean, I wish they would do that for broadcasters. Why can't we get the escorts when we go and try to get scholarships? I would love that. I love what Les Miles was doing for Oklahoma State, but apparently from 2001 all the way to 2010, Oklahoma State players were selling drugs right before games to their own teammates, to people in the crowd, and also they would get high before games. And maybe that's why Oklahoma State wasn't that good in the mid-2000s. And obviously, Des Bryant, the guy's been a lot of criticism before he came to the NFL. Now it makes sense because 2010 is a little bit right before Des Bryant decided to leave. No wonder he left after his junior year, because his hoes weren't coming into the hotel room because he left after his junior year. He was getting sick and tired of it. So once again, that is my say what for the week. Oklahoma State Cowboys bringing the Cowgirls in and obviously slinging.
I could have made that football program. Wow. Wish I would have, tried to go there.
And that leads us into our good job, good effort.
This one's going to be tough for me, folks, but
The San Diego Chokers.
we talked about the Zach Poff curse. There's also another curse. I call it the JPFC, the Jake Poff football curse. And this has happened.
I was hoping that was the F in that one.
Yeah, well, this has happened once again. San Diego Chargers. I'm sure everyone, the San Diego Chokers on Monday night, up 21-7 at half. And that's not even enough for them. Oh, second half come out. They go up 28-7 with 10:42 in the third quarter. That was the last points the Chargers saw. Since that point in the game, Houston scores 24 straight. San Diego chokes at home, chokes on Monday night again. And Randy Bullock for Houston puts him away. Chargers, good job, good effort. It doesn't matter who your coach is. You suck. And the Jake Paul football curse is stronger than ever.
Good job.
Good job.
Effort.
Good effort.
I'm going to stick with one of my teams, too. My good job, good effort for the week, USC quarterbacks. I mean, you got Marquise Lee on your team, the best wide receiver in all of Division I college football. And yet, through 2 games, the USC quarterbacks have combined to go for 226 yards, 1 TD, and they've thrown it to the wrong team 3 times. A touchdown to interception ratio, 1-3.
Yeah.
That is horrible. And it's just straight pathetic. Cody Kessler, 18 out of 32 this year, 136 yards, 1 TD, 2 interceptions. Oh, Max Whittick comes in and does even worse. 8 out of 18, 90 yards, 0 touchdowns, the same amount of touchdowns as all 5 of us in the studio have combined for, and 1 interception, 1 more than any of us have thrown. Max Whittick, Cody Kessler, good job, good effort. No wonder why Robert Woods decided to leave after his junior year. He knew what he was dealing with. I mean, it's just pathetic. Carson Palmer, Matt Leinart, Mark Sanchez, then Matt Barkley, and then Cody Kessler and Max Whittick. Good job, good effort. The only good thing about this is Lane Kiffin hopefully will get canned after this pathetic quarterback play for USC. All right, baby, we're going to bring in the Big Kahuna to wrap out the show. But first, we're going to send it over to the Michigan Wolverines women's basketball coach to set the tone for Poff's Pet Peeve.
That's how I feel. Damn sick and tired of getting out rebounded. 25 offensive rebounds. First time we block out, we get called for a damn block out. We're pushing people. Meanwhile, they're on the other court grabbing rebounds, going over the top and grabbing them. We get one offensive rebound, the other get called for over the back. We don't block out very damn well, and we're not getting called, one or the other. That's where I'm frustrated. That's where my whole frustration comes in, offensive rebounds. The entire thing came down to offensive rebound. They got every stinking offensive rebound, and we didn't get one of them.
And it's going to be hard to top the Michigan Wolverines women's basketball coach. That's one of my all-time favorite rants. But here we bring in the Big Kahuna, the executive producer and the head man of the Solano College Sports Network. What is your Poff Pet Peeve for the week, sir?
Well, Zach, thanks for letting me come on your show and just to get something off my chest each week. And here's what's bothering me this week. And this has really bothered me for the last 15 years, ever since I moved up to Northern California. I'm from Southern California, get up to Northern California, and I noticed anytime I'm talking to any sports fan about the 49ers, the Raiders, San Francisco Giants, Oakland A's, or even the Warriors, they always refer to the team as if they're playing for them. Oh, did you see that game last night? We really blew it at the end. Or we really did a great job pulling that game out at the end. And I want to look at them and go, what number are you? I watched the game last night. I didn't see you out on the floor. I didn't see you on the field. I didn't see you in the stadium playing the game. And so I want to know why fans think they're part of the team. Look, you go into a restaurant, and maybe it's your favorite restaurant. You walk out, someone asks you, well, how was the food? It's not like, well, we struggled a little bit getting the drink order, but once we got to the entrees, boy, we did a great job. We killed it. We really made an excellent meal. Look, here's an easy way to figure out whether you're an us or a them. You've got all your gear on, you go to the stadium. When you walk to the ticket booth and they ask you for a ticket, you're not us or you're not we. You're them. You're the person paying their salaries. You're the person that's making it affordable for them to be able to live the lavish lives that they live because they convince you you're part of the us or the we. You're not. You'll never be unless you're on the team. So from now on, when you're having a conversation, talk about them, not you. I feel a lot better now. Thank you, Zach. I did.
Get it all out there?
I did. I can't wait till next week. Fantasy football lovers got a little something for you.
And, of course, he's referring to JT Blaze, Jacob Poff. You should see this guy. Tell him real quick before we wrap up the show what it's like on Sundays with Jake and his computer.
Well, it's like listening to a schizophrenic. He's got 52 different fantasy teams, and
More
he's
than
got
that.
yeah, and yay, no, what? And then he's got his picks and all
and then
that.
you throw in FanDuel.
Yeah, it's pretty funny.
That wraps up the show here. Once again, thanks for checking out the second episode of the Poff Pass show. So once again, I'm Zach Poff. Thanks to Jake Poff earlier coming in to help me wrap up the show here, and Big Kahuna also with his Poff Pet Peeve of the Week. It's been a blast, baby. Thanks to Stosh and Brian doing a tremendous job behind the scenes. Really, all the credit goes to those two guys. They've done a phenomenal job. So once again, we are out here on the Poff Pass show. We will be back within the next couple of weeks. Also, don't forget, like the Solano College Sports Network Facebook page, and also go to the YouTube channel and subscribe to the Solano College Sports Network, because next week they'll be covering the Vacaville Granite Bay game and also soccer, and they'll do all the rest fall sports, basketball at the end of the year. So make sure and subscribe to the Solano College Sports Network YouTube channel and like us on Facebook. We out.
Sports Network, let's go. We coming in live. Yeah, here we go. Me and my bro, it's the Poff Pass show.